The politics of farting. The politics of ooh, feeling good. Remember that song? Remember that song? The WCOU used to play it. Yeah, you remember that song, don't you? But anyway, the politics of farting. That's right. The politics of farting. In some ways, passing gas is kind of like politics in some ways. Did you know that? It is. Passing gas. Ripping bunker blasts or air biscuits or a trouser sneeze. It really is kind of like politics, because there's two major types of bunker blast. That's right, there's two major types of bunker blasts and a lot of minor types. Kind of like how the American political system has two major parties and a lot of minor parties. Did you know that? Like, for instance, bunker blasts usually have two major types. There's usually the SBD, silent but deadly, or the LAP, loud and proud. Kind of like how there's two major parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. That's what it's like. That's what it's like. But there's also like how there's a lot of minor parties, like the Greens and the Libertarians and the Socialist Workers Party and the Communists and all the minor parties, the Prohibition Party, all the minor political parties. There's also a lot of minor bunker blast types. Like, in addition to the SBD and the LAP, there's also the Quiet Riot. That's right. Which is just a quiet riot is a bunker blast that you could just barely hear, but it's still funny. That's right. That's why we call it the Quiet Riot. But pretty much all bunker blasts are funny though. But this is one that's funny because of the way you could just barely hear it. It could be like that. That's a Quiet Riot. Another one is the one cheek squeak. That's right. That's when a person leans over on one cheek and they just let it squeak out. You've seen people doing that. I'm sure you have. Or what's another funny type of bunker? Another type of pooteroony. There's another one called the based waste. It has nothing to do with basting, but we call it that because we needed a name for it on the spur of the moment. Somebody on the internet needed a name for it at the spur of the moment. It's a based waste. It's a bunker blast that's pretty much wasted because it produces no sound and no smell. So it's just one that comes out, but it doesn't stink, and it doesn't have any audio either, and no stench. So that's a based waste. So now we've got the major parties, the LAP and the SBD, and some of the minor parties like the Quiet Riot and the one cheek squeak and the based waste. And then there's the ones that are classified according to smell. And I guess these are kind of like the factions of each party. Like one of them might be, say, like the Tea Party wing of one party. Like, one of them could be like the Tea Party wing of the SBD, or one of them could be like the DLC wing of the LAP, or something like that. There's the dog do fart. That's right. And those are rare. They're rare, but they sure are powerful. That's right. In other words, they're kind of like the Tea Party, which is they're not that common. Like, the Tea Party doesn't have that many supporters, but the dog do fart The dog do fart's kind of like the Tea Party. It doesn't have that many supporters, but man, they sure are powerful when they do happen. They're not that common, but they sure are powerful when they do happen. And then there's a natural gas fart. That's right. It's just like how the dog do fart smells like dog do. The natural gas fart smells like natural gas. And I think I've smelled precisely one of those in my entire lifetime. Those are funny too. And of course there's the rotten egg fart. That's right. It smells like rotten eggs. But another analogy, another thing that's kind of like, it's kind of like farting. The fact that there's two major types of farts and a lot of minor types. Another thing that's like, it's kind of like the character classes in Dungeons and Dragons. Like how Dungeons and Dragons only had like 4 major character classes. Remember, or at least the back when I was growing up, like back in the 80s, Dungeons and Dragons, they had the fighter, the magic user, the cleric, and the thief. But then there are a lot of minor character classes, like the ranger and the paladin and the druid. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. Like how there are 4 major character classes, and there was the minor ones, like the paladin, and I think even the cavalier was one. I think for a while they had the barbarian. I think that was like in the Unearthed Arcana era when they had those. But I don't remember those classes being used for that much. So anyway, that's what it's like. Or how radio formats split into sub-formats. Like you used to have the major formats like top 40 and middle of the road. And those are, I think those are like the major ones. But now they've split into other ones like soft AC and variety hits and classic hits. So it's kind of like that too. So that's the story of how bunker blast is kind of like American politics. We have an American political system that seems to be designed for 2 parties. But those minor parties all seem to sneak their way in. That's right. So they've got so they've got yeah. So anyway, that's how bunker blasts rule our political landscape. The 2 major parties are like a big, giant air biscuit that stinks up the place.